and everybody's asleep in my house, so I'm going to have to do this quietly, but we're going to rip through some of the top plays for the first round of the NBA playoffs. I was a little unsure of how to do minutes because usually I look at recent rotations, and with the end of the regular season being the last couple of games for a lot of these teams, rotations were all screwed up. We had reserves playing big minutes, we had starters not playing big minutes, so I decided to go with the season average minutes for each player. We're going to rip through the list, and I'll tell you which ones I like and which ones I think are kind of fabrication. See Precious Achiuwa at the top. I don't think you can start him a good point per minute, but he was playing in the 40s in minutes a lot earlier in the year. Obviously, recently with Anunoby back, he hasn't been playing nearly as much. So you got to avoid Achiuwa despite him being ranked at the top of the list. SGA at a 39 is an obvious play. Anthony Davis at a 53 for me is an obvious play. Edwards 39, obvious play. But obviously those guys are expensive if you don't have them in your gallery already. Tim Hardaway at a 15. I don't love this. I think this is another anomaly here. He played more minutes early in the year. Recently, he hasn't been playing as much. I think you can probably avoid him. D'Lo, 33, definitely in play. Embiid at 53, yes, of course. Kevin Love is interesting. So with Butler down, they're going to have some different rotations. I think you can play him at 17. You might get a decent 30 to 35 point performance out of him. He's going to give you maybe more minutes than he normally does since it's the playoffs. Chet at 31, sure. Duncan Robinson, obviously somebody's going to have to fill in for Butler. I think you can play him at 18, assuming he's healthy, but I don't see any injury designation for him. Grayson Allen, 27 is really low. He can always go off. Paul George at 38 comes in nicely here. Daniel Gafford at 25, a little banged up, I guess, but I wouldn't be afraid to throw him in. Jaylen Brown at 36, not bad. Taurean Prince all the way down to 14. I think he's going to get some minutes. He's not great, though, so temper your expectations. That's just a low number. You may need a low number to fill in some gaps. Booker at 40, I think you can play. Ingram at 31, obviously going to have to step up with Zion gone. There's going to be a couple interesting plays in New Orleans. Austin Reeves, 28 is pretty low for him. He's usually in the 30s. I think you can play him at a 28. Valanciunas becomes really interesting at a 20 L10. So with Zion out, I think Valanciunas is going to have to shoulder a lot of the load offensively, play a lot more than he normally does, and with it being the playoffs, I think his minutes come up. He only averaged 24 for the season, but it's the playoffs. He could play quite a bit more than that, especially with Zion out. So that 20 L10 looks really juicy. I like that one a lot. Siakam, sure, 34. O'Neal, don't love that, even at 20. Westbrook's looked good, and then he's looked terrible, and then he's looked good. So you want to take a chance on him at 23. That's not terrible. Eric Gordon all the way down at 13. Here's another low one if you need to throw somebody in there. Coro at 14. Once in a while he has a good game, but of course both of those guys really low point per minute numbers. Bam. Yeah, absolutely. With Jimmy out, Bam's going to have to do a lot. Jalen Williams, just a player I really like. Maxey, with Embiid back, he takes a little bit of a back seat, but he always plays big minutes. 46 is a little high for him, I would think. Lively at a 22, I think you can use. James Harden at 33 seems really good. That's really low. Derek White at 33 is playable. Mitchell Robinson, so back from injury, had a little bit of time to ramp up. Obviously the minutes aren't huge, but at a 13, I think he's somebody you can throw in. He's obviously going to play and play quite a bit. Lillard, with Giannis out to start the Bucks series, Lillard's going to have to shoulder a lot of the scoring load. I think you could get a really big game on a Lillard. 39 L10, definitely in play. Drew Holiday, 26, mediocre, but okay. Karis LeVert at 28, I don't love that one. Kyle Anderson at 18. He just doesn't score enough for me. Porzingis, 42 is kind of on his higher end. Lowry, does he get going in the playoffs? I don't think so. Durant at 39 seems like a nice play. Max Christie is a 6. He wasn't playing much at the end of the year. Maybe he gets 10 minutes. So I'd probably avoid him. Isaiah Jackson, 15, a guy I really like, but just doesn't get minutes most of the time. And I think they're going to have everybody healthy, Jalen Smith and Turner, so he probably stays on the bench. Jamal Murray, 41. Okay. I mean, he's had great playoff series before. He could put you up a big number. Jaquez at 19 is kind of interesting with Butler out. Does he get a little more run? Donovan Mitchell, I still don't think he's healthy, so I'm avoiding Mitchell, but at 37, I mean, we've seen him have 70-point games before. His numbers since March 1st, 1.06 points per minute. Very pedestrian for a superstar, so I think there's something wrong. Alexander Walker, I'm probably avoiding at 19. Kawhi Leonard at 39 seems pretty decent. Buddy Hield at 20. He hasn't played 26 minutes really recently. He's been more in the mid-teens, so I'd avoid him too. DeAndre Jordan, you're not playing. Jaden McDaniels just doesn't score enough. Jarris Walker's not going to play. Tatum at 44, I suppose you could throw him in there. Porter at 30, average. Naz Reid, 31, you're not going to want to play him with Towns back. He's back to a bench role. Najee Marshall's a guy I really like. He just doesn't get to play a whole lot, but with Zion out, I think he could be a factor in this series, and a 14 is very playable. And then if we can find Haywood Highsmith, here he is. Okay, so he's a 22, so a little higher than I thought he was. But with Butler out, I think he's going to play decent minutes. And he's a weird player. Sometimes he'll put up nothing, miss a couple shots, and just not take anymore. And other times he'll go 4 for 5 from 3, and he'll be involved in the game and get a bunch of steals or blocks. So I think they're going to need his defense, and I wouldn't be surprised if he played a decent amount of minutes. So he's somebody I'd take a look at. Well, good luck this week. We'll see you back here before the second half of the first round gets started. Good night and good luck.